Hi, welcome. I'm Bob Batchy, Executive Director of Primeplus Senior Centers, and this is Primetime with Bob. And I'm with somebody who I just discovered we've been going together for a long, long time, which we probably shouldn't share that with the world. Marty Race, who is, as of this moment, the brand new president of the board for Primeplus Senior Centers. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to be able to be in the building even.
I know, can you believe it? I invite you over so we can kind of get used to working with each other now. And then I said, oh, by the way, sit in this room all by yourself in front of a Keys to Success brochure, and I'm going to grill you on Zoom.
There you go. But at least you gave me this wonderful poster behind me instead of my usual flowered chair that I sit in when I do Zoom meetings.
The Rotarians are going to wonder, what happened to her chair?
Yeah, where's my chair?
So, because you're now using Zoom for Rotary,
for Rotary, for Bible study, for an investment committee, for King's Daughters meetings, for Primeplus, and then every once in a while, some friends will just get a glass of wine and Zoom each other.
So who drinks the best wine? No. But I mean,
well, we provide our own, so I'll say mine's the best.
Now we're of the same age. How are you feeling this whole Zoom thing and how we're doing during COVID? What's it done to you?
It's worked really pretty well. I mean, you and I talked about earlier that it's certainly cut down on a lot of the travel time. So it's easy. Actually, I only worry about what I'm wearing from the waist up most of the time when I'm on Zoom.
Well, I messed with that because we met personally. So you're
right. So I did dress nicely for our meeting earlier. But it's interesting. It seems like there's still a social aspect to it, which is good. And in most of the Zoom meetings, we usually try to give a little time before or after to just talk and socialize. But somehow it seems like sometimes we get down to business a lot faster and more easily on Zoom than in person. I don't know what that is, but it's just there.
Yeah. So as far as the board, I think it's going to be really good to be efficient and effective. But Primeplus kind of deals on a different level. It's more social and personal.
Well, when we talk about the board, that's one issue. When we talk about the services that we provide here that the board supports, that's something totally different. Because what we try to provide here is that socialization, is that the fact that just because you're 60 or 70 doesn't mean that it's time to stop and that you don't want to be with people and you just want to sit in your rocking chair and watch TV. And I think that that's really the greatest value that we provide here, is that for those who really want to get out and do and socialize, we have all sorts of things that they can do. And for those who have loved ones that have a little bit of difficulty being alone, we are also providing the adult day services where they still can safely socialize and their families can do the things that they need to do, knowing that their loved ones are safe.
Yeah, I'm constantly being asked now, so when's Primeplus opening? And of course, we closed for about a month, and then we reopened in the virtual world, which was fine if you knew how to connect with it. What's really cool now is Usha's back. And I walked out of the office and there she was, So some of our regular members are kind of venturing back in to take classes. Bill and Candy were weeding the courtyard this morning and comparing who had more butterflies in their location. The three guys in the wood shop, one of them is from Pakistan, the other one is from Bulgaria, I think, or the Ukraine. And then there's Francis running it, and they're in there just working away. So yeah, it's really been exciting to see the energy come back to the building. Right. And then I think there were some people that were just kind of hanging around, hoping that they didn't have to exercise, but we won't. So yeah, it's really become a community. And what I've got to really talk about are the 4 people that were back in adult day.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
They were stuck at home. So right now we've got about 12 people who are registered with our adult day services in both here and in Virginia Beach. And so their caregivers are now back and getting that respite time so they can have a life too.
Right.
How does that make you feel as a board member?
Oh, it's fantastic. And, you know, as a board, we helped call some of the caretakers.
Oh, yeah.
Time because, you know, we don't want to lose people. We want to make sure that they're okay. That's what we're about, is making sure folks are okay. And a lot of the caretakers that I talked to, almost every one of them said, we want you to open back up because we are seeing our loved one slip a little.
Yeah.
You know, not having the structure, not having the interaction, not having the ability just to be with other people, was making a difference for them. Yeah. So it's a good thing that we're being able to open up, and hopefully we'll be able to expand a little more and a little more.
Yeah, and George Pratt, who's one of our board members, who was retired college professor and community services board, did some research showing that yes, the virtual thing will allow you to not lose contact. And astronauts use it all the time, obviously, when they're out in space. But nothing will replace that personal contact. So we've got to try to make that work in a safe environment.
Yeah,
challenge.
Which is going to be a little bit of a challenge, honestly, with the new board members that we've got coming on, who are fantastic. I mean, the nominating committee did an excellent job. Those of us who've been on the board and know each other, it's sort of easier to reconnect on a screen. But when you don't know each other, it's a little bit harder because you don't have that past relationship. So it's a little bit of a challenge.
Well, you know who's going to make that really easy? Our new president.
Oh, thank you. Going to do my best.
But again, what do you see the future of Primeplus being then?
I think that we'll continue to do the things that we're doing because we do them very, very well. Obviously, I think that what COVID has provided us the opportunity to do is to really make steps into the virtual world, which will enable us to actually reach more people. Obviously, we want people here, as we were just talking about, that personal interaction is really important. But sometimes people can't make it, but they still need to exercise, or they still want to take a class in something else, or they still want to have that conversation because of a book club. And so I think that COVID's given us an opportunity to see how we can use the virtual world better. I think that the staff here has done an incredible job in helping people who don't know how to navigate that world learn how to do it. I mean, that's a piece of what we do, right? Is not just provide it, but make sure that people can take advantage of the activities that we provide. You know, as you and I have talked about, we have to remain financially viable. And so we're going to need to be looking at new ways to raise money. For those who are watching us, we don't get a bunch of government money. We are not supported directly by, some huge pot of federal or state or even local money. Now, the city of Norfolk is very generous in our location, and have been very good partners with us. But we're going to have to figure out some ways and some new ways to help keep us financially solvent and going and improving.
So we're always open to hear from that. Yeah.
Yes. And as we've talked about, we are hoping that we have to have membership fees. We have to, our ADS, it does bring in some funds. We have to pay folks. But we're hoping that we can, down the road, develop some scholarship programs, which will take an endowment, which will take some folks who are willing to be generous and recognize the importance of what we're doing to say, we want to help folks who otherwise couldn't afford it to be able to be here. So those are some of the things that I see. I know that we are looking at business development, curriculum development, what more we can provide. In the way of interesting things to do and learn. So,
well, I'm going to go down memory lane with you and ask you to recall there's a conference room at 501 Bush that had doors you could close off and nobody knew you were meeting in there. And you and I met quite often with residents
Yes.
And one of the things you brought to the table was, let's throw the rule book out and do what's right. Right? So
I did.
I'm telling on you.
The city, yeah, I was going to say, I had a few supervisors who weren't thrilled with that.
Right, but it's past whatever they call that. We're free. But one of the things that I always admired about you was it was a matter of doing it right, getting it done, and knocking down some of those barriers. And I've commented that, I've always liked working outside the box, and when there is no box, and COVID took it away, there's anything to do. And so the message I want to get across to people who might be watching this, who are down in the mouth saying, oh my God, I'm so tired of this, that this is really a great time to look at doing what you normally do, but do it differently, and really start creating your own reality, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
So are you going to be driving me nuts as the new president then, in creating a new reality?
Oh my gosh, no! I think that we're gonna hold hands and go into the sunset together. It's what we do here. It's always teamwork. And again, part of what I've always liked about being here at Primeplus is the openness and the creativity. And just because we've always done something one way doesn't mean that we got to keep doing it that way. Just because this is what we've offered doesn't mean that's what we got to continue to offer, or we can't add new, because we're always looking for that. I mean, the seniors, you see pictures. I mean, I'm a baby boomer, so you see pictures in the 50s of grandparents. And I remember my own grandmother, who was actually younger than I when she became a grandmother. And she was in her little dress with the little bitty narrow belt and the apron. And she seemed really old. And my grandchildren will say to me, Gaga, are you old? and my answer is, well, there's days I feel like I'm old, and then there are days that I think I can't possibly be this old. And I think that's what we're looking at, is a much more vibrant, healthier group of folks that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s. My dad lived to be 97 and a half until he was 94. He had a girlfriend, and, he was going to parties and out to eat and reading books like crazy and socializing. And that's what we want to see. And so it's our job to figure out how best to do that.
I can guarantee we are at Primeplus, we are focused still, no matter what, on building a safe, respectful community where you have value. And it's also an inclusive community. I think we talk a lot about the world today, and that we have the opportunity here through group participation, individual participation within group, to create a place of inclusion.
Yeah.
And that's an exciting opportunity for us. And we're going to need people, as you expressed earlier, to kind of step forward and say, I want to be part of the family.
Yeah. Yeah. And people here really care about one another. You go into a class, and if Susie Q hasn't been there for a couple of weeks, this is obviously before COVID, people would say, well, has anybody talked to Susie Q? And where is she? And I think we need to give her a call. And these are people who met here. Right. They formed their friendships here, and they care about each other here.
Yeah. So, Marty, I give you credit. I mean, I said you're the new president, but in reality, you've been knocking around these conference room doors for about 10 more years. So congratulations on getting to the pinnacle. You know what? I've never had your predecessor on this show.
Oh yeah? Well, I think you need to.
Yeah. Well, because he's never come in, and I locked you up in a conference room down the hall so we could do this. So,
I came willingly, not kicking and screaming.
I called ahead of time. But
Yeah,
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your level of commitment to make sure that we have a quality program here in Hampton Roads that will meet people's needs, but also allowing people to have an influence on how we move forward.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Okay. So our next meeting's in a couple of weeks, and we'll get that agenda right?
Right. There you go.
Okay, cool stuff. Thanks, Marty. Hey, keep in mind, stay safe and stay connected. Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.